Bishop Pat, this is your last General Synod as Bishop. Your thoughts, please, as you prepare for retirement?
I mean, they're very mixed. It is my last General Synod, and I'm really aware of that, sitting up at the front, looking down, and feeling at times, this is my tribe. I'm very happy in my tribe, but also that feeling too of being ready to retire and just, you know in your gut when it's time. So I'm very mixed.
You were the first woman to be consecrated bishop in Ireland and the United Kingdom. That piece of history was made in 2013. Inevitably, there was a fair bit of scrutiny at that stage. Did you feel that scrutiny weighing heavily on your shoulders?
I really tried not to, and I don't think I did. I mean, I think somebody gave me a bit of advice going in and just said, just be yourself, but not too much. So I think I've really tried to be Pat and not to be the woman bishop. And I mean, one of the joys actually of some of the things that have been said about me is the first woman bishop's never been mentioned. It's been Bishop and Pat, and to be honest, that's been great because that's what I want. I think the best accolade for being a female bishop is that nobody really notices after a while. You're just one of the bishops. So that's been lovely.
Do you think you brought an informality, a welcome informality to the role?
I don't know about welcome, but I definitely brought an informality because that's just my character. And if you be yourself, you bring that too. And maybe at times it's needed a bit more formality than I bring it. But I think too, it's not a bad thing to loosen up and have a bit of a laugh and just be human as well.
What motivated you in the first place, convinced you to become a priest in the Church of Ireland?
Well, my husband was a rector, and I'd watched him and I thought maybe I could live it vicariously through him, but a vocation really grew. So I had a strong sense of vocation, and when the children were still quite small, I thought, I've got to push this door. And I think we all kind of assumed it would close, and instead it opened, so that gave us a whole new conversation in our marriage about what way that would go.
Was it an easy decision in retrospect to make, or was there a bit of soul searching?
Oh no, it was very difficult. I mean, partly because Earl was a rector, the children were small. It had been much easier to either wait until later in life or to go non-stipendiary and not cause the misery of having to travel into Dublin and do full-time study again. But looking back, it was absolutely the right thing for me. But no, it wasn't easy. It was a struggle.
Can we fast forward to when you were consecrated? How were you received in the United Diocese of Meath and Kildare?
Well, if anybody had any problem, they didn't tell me. I suppose I'd be the last person they'd maybe say it to. But I know that people were, they were apprehensive because A, there hadn't been a woman bishop, and B, any change of bishop is hard for a diocese. They've grown to love the bishop before you, they'll grow to love the bishop after you, and you come in a line of bishops and you bring your own skills and weaknesses, and you make your own mistakes as well. But I think you grow to love each other, and anybody who wasn't keen on having a woman bishop certainly never told me.
So you took it all very much in your stride.
I did, yeah. I had to.
And the support that you got then, it developed, it grew?
Oh, yes, and I'd support from the beginning. There are very welcoming people. I mean, I really do thank God for the diocese I got. I think he knew much better than me. That informality sat well with me than Kildare, where maybe it wouldn't in another diocese. We just seemed to fit. I felt like a round peg in a round hole so often. Now, that's not to say every day was joyous. There were definitely difficult days, but on the whole, I just have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's an absolute privilege.
You grew up in Belfast on the Craigie Road.
I did.
Was the fact that you were a northerner in a southern diocese something you had to address? Was it an issue? Was it an impediment or a bonus?
I think that part of the reason that I was elected by the House of Bishops was because I'd already lived both north and south of the border. So we were 10 years in Crinkin near Bray. Then we moved back north for a while. And I think that was partly, we were really comfortable living in both jurisdictions. We love the south, and actually I'm really going to miss the south when we move back to Northern Ireland. So I think part of it was that we'd kind of already acculturated to the south and we're very happy to come back. So I didn't have any issues, and I think once I was there, people realised I wasn't a northerner who resented the south, I was a northerner who loved the south.
Was it difficult juggling family commitments and responsibilities with your pastoral work?
Yes, that would be the very short answer. Anybody who's in ministry and has children, and now I have grandchildren 4 hours away. And I remember when Isaac, my grandson, was born, thinking, he'll be 11 when I retire, and feeling really sad that I was going to miss those early years. But look, we just did our best. We ran up that road many times, taking breaks at Apple Greens, and they came down many times and did the same, and we made the best of it. But there's going to be, a lot of joy in being a wee bit nearer. So it was more difficult, I think, when I went into training in college when the children were very small. Like, that was a big challenge.
2 words, one of them I know you don't like, and it's this word pathfinder. But you were a pioneering figure in that broadest sense within the Church of Ireland. Do you think there are sufficient women coming forward now to take up leadership roles, to take up positions as clergy people?
I really hope so. I mean, one of my sadness has been, that when I leave, it's going to be an all-male House of Bishops. And even though there are 10 great men, it would be lovely to see the right woman in there. But there's lots of women now in senior positions in the Church of Ireland, lots deans and archdeacons, and that's been lovely to see. And there was one point at which a couple of years ago I thought, gosh, have I done enough for women? But I think other women just like me just want to be recognised for their own personality and skills, and not because of their gender.
You had many high points during your bishopric in Meath and Kildare. Were there low points as well? And how difficult was it to cope with those challenges, the sets of challenges that came along?
I mean, of course there were. Nobody in any business, and it's all, people-facing businesses, anybody dealing with the public. There's a lot of problem solving. There's a lot of relationship issues. You sort of feel you're constantly having difficult conversations or trying to mediate between 2 parties. So it has been very challenging. It has at times been stressful, although I hold to stress quite lightly normally, so that's good. But no job has, all airy, fairy, fairy lights, and it's wonderful. Every job has challenges, and mine certainly has. But I'd say far outweighed were the good days and the feeling of just gratitude for being given this role.
You had an instrumental role to play in Mind Matters, that very successful project. Over the course of your 13 years, would you say that was one of the most satisfying?
Definitely, the Mind Matters, and the Mind Matters team was wonderful. It's one of the best teams I've ever worked on. The 5 of us were just wanted to get it done. And I think that it was really putting the mental health of everyone, but the mental health of clergy on the agenda, because I think clergy face particular stresses that we don't always, and their spouses and families, that we don't always recognise or take seriously. And I was passionate about that, and so were the rest of the team. And it wasn't just about clergy, but I suppose that's what I brought, because one of my real priorities is to pastorally care for clergy, and I hope to not stop that.
You know this better than I do, and you have an appreciable fan base. We saw that, at the end of Synod here in Newcastle in County Down. What's next, can I ask? What's next for Bishop Pat?
I would say nothing for a while. I've already been asked to do a few things, and I've said, please don't ask me anything for 6 months, because I just need to rest. Earl and I are travelling to Canada in July to see our son and new daughter-in-law, and we're going to enjoy that. We have a couple of little plans for August, but after that, I'm just going to take a rest and then see where God leads.
The church you love is the Church of Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
How do you view where the church sits, where it resides right now, and where you would like it to be, say, 5 years hence?
And I'm very optimistic about the church and about the Church of Ireland. I think the numbers they're holding their own, they're in growth in some places, but it's not all about numbers. I see spiritual growth in people, and that's the most important thing. I see people finding their gifts and their skills and learning to be part of the tribe, and that's a real joy. I see people using their gifts in unexpected ways and called, just stepping up and having the courage to be called in different directions. So I think it's an exciting place. I mean, there are challenges, of course there are. The challenge of secularism is huge, north and south of the border, and the real challenge of, I've been invested in youth work, but the challenge of the next generation and the generation after that being fully engaged in the church and in the Church of Ireland. Maybe that's why the Pioneer projects are something that's addressing that. But I have to say I'm optimistic.
Bishop Pat, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you every happiness in your retirement, and hopefully see you back playing a very active role soon.
Thank you very much, but not for 6 months.
Archbishop McDole, Bishop Pat Storey retires very shortly. You departed from the norm and referred to her in your presidential address. How important was Bishop Pat?
Well, she was very important in herself, but also because the Church of Ireland was probably the first church, one of the first churches in the Anglican Communion to provide for the episcopal ordination of women. And then it took us over 20 years to actually elect a woman to be ordained a bishop. And that lasted for 13 years, and there haven't been any others since. And to some extent, we've fallen down somewhere there. So that's the broader picture. But the more personal picture is that Pat brought an enormous kind of honesty and sort of verve and down to earthness in a way that we hadn't really, I think, experienced before in the House of Bishops. And it's not that she was, I wouldn't have said she was like the grit in the oyster or that she was a stone in the shoe or whatever, but she was always there to remind us that there's another way to look at life and to look at things. And, you know, whatever that might have been, not just about women's issues or about social issues or about whatever, but just about a worldview and a way of looking at life. And she was able to do that and to remind us that you need to stop and ask people. Because it's that collegiate view which gives you the view of the church, and a woman's view at episcopal level is very, very important, and it's very sad in a way. Not just Pat that's gone, but there are no women now in the House of Bishops.